I saw a lot of men repost this, so I'm interested in the woman's perspective on this. So Sergio.
Yeah.
So him and his wife have a podcast as well. And I think he's
been posting really good content.
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
He's got really good content. And one of the things that was reposted a lot that got a lot of attention that I saw men repost was a conversation him and his wife had about him withholding stress and information about stress because he does not want to upset the balance of their home. Obviously, like there's a balance between like opening up to your wife and then also withholding information from your wife in order to not create stress or like scarcity or like, doubt and fear and uncertainty and like.
Specifically, though, I think he was talking about like stress in business that he didn't want to bring home, right?
I think that's what, yes. I think business, yes. I think it was exactly. So it wasn't necessarily like stress within himself that was like anything spiritual, or wasn't stressed about their marriage that wasn't coming to the front, or parenting or with his health, right? So it's strictly about business. Yes. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so what are your thoughts about that as far as like, for us, I thought about it, I was like, well, it's kind of unique for us because we run and operate our life with transparency. Like there's nothing that you don't know about that I don't know about because we run businesses together. So you actually know about everything except the day-to-day. I do find that I withhold things at the office with you that are maybe like team issues or things that are going at the office that I'm like, I got it. I got it handled. I don't need your help. I don't need to put this on you to like try to problem solve for me or to try to, or me to put any sort of like worry, because you already worry enough. I don't want to create more worry for you. So I do resonate with that. I do understand, like, I guess as the man, like you have to sort of like bear the burden of whether it's like some of the stressors of like, whether it's finances or business or that type of arena. But what are your thoughts about it?
Well, I think that the first thing that comes to mind is an example of this is, I think there's stressors that you need to share. And again, like I said, we're a little bit different because we have businesses together, but I think there's stressors that you need to share when they're major or they're brewing and not wait till it's too late till they're a problem. Because no matter what, a woman can sense it, right? Like when you're at home and you bring that home and you're still stuck in your work. I know in vice versa, you can do that for me when something's on my mind and I'm withholding a lot, which I do often.
You do?
I do often. And I think this is like a really good skill for men and women, kind of highlighting this is that like, can you start prefacing of like, hey, I'm working on this myself, of like, hey, I just need you to listen right now. I don't need you to fix.
It's really helpful when you say that before you tell me things.
That's what I mean. So I think the same thing goes for the guy is that can you say like, hey, I just got to get off this off my chest. I don't need you to help me with it. I like, it's been really bothering me, sets the table for a different discussion. It allowed us to have a dynamic where we had much more like conversation where I feel like I didn't miss out, but I felt like in the past in that meeting when you had it, I missed a lot of details that probably I could have helped with if you had talked to me about. So when it's a team challenge where it's like a stressor and anxiety that you could bring to me that we could work together on versus, hey, like I said, so-and-so's late. I don't think those are things that you need to share. But like, I think big rocks, things that make a big difference in your business, you should be bringing home to your wife. But at the same time, you have to be very strategic about your placement of when those are talked about. Like, it can't be like, hey, I had a really bad day with the kids today. I'm super stressed out because like this one was peeing on the floor and this one's, throwing a tantrum. And that's just not a good moment for you to receive, hey, here's my stress that I had today. So kind of using that to set the table of, hey, I do have something I want to talk to you about the business. When would be appropriate time? Or when would be like, or just like I said, can you say, hey, I need you to listen to me right now. And I just, is this a good time? Instead.
So getting your input is, yes, important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that might not be the case for everybody where they're going to be like, hey, I'm going to talk to my wife about this business challenge I'm having.
Yeah. Or even it could be a work challenge. You'd be like, hey, I have this one boss that really sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you're right. I don't think it's something that necessarily is a good thing to withhold those things, especially if it's like gnawing at you and eating at you. But yeah, I think that, what about like financial burden?
Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, so let's say, for example, my business is struggling this quarter and we're like barely scraping by. But you're not involved in the money conversation. Like, do you bring those conversations to your
okay, so that one's even more sensitive and I think even more relative to this conversation.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Is for that one, when it's financial, I think when the man's bringing it to the woman, and let's say they don't have it, like I said, where I know a lot of that stuff, right? But like, it's the same, what I would say is the same, is that like, can you set the table more consciously? Meaning like, hey, let's say your wife is overspending on something. And you already know that you're barely making ends meet at your work or your business this week. That's obviously a time when you need to have that conversation, but it also has to be really sensitive on how you approach it. It has to be thought of ahead of time. It can't be in a reactive mode, in a passing, where it's like, and your approach matters, such as like, hey, I'm really tight this month because, we didn't do as well as.
Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, the guys don't want to, if this is a traditional relationship where the guy's making the money, managing the money, guys don't want to do that because they're thinking like, I just want my home to be calm and peaceful. And I want my wife to be like nurturing and feminine for me. And if I bring home this like bad news or chaos or like problems to her, then she's going to cut off intimacy. She's going to cut off like affection. She's going to cut off. I
think that the cutoff is worse if you withhold.
Right. So this is my point. This is why, but I'm telling you that this is the default or what men would typically do. I know that this is like, that would be a thought for me. Like this is what I would do. But I think you're right. I think in the short term, it's like, oh, okay, well, things can operate status quo and you still get what you want. But I think long term, there's symptoms that come up of not, I think, sharing some of that burden and not having, like, I think that the money's interesting, right? Because it's one of those things like one spouse might be making the money and or managing the money. And I think it's when there isn't purview of like 360 degrees of your money. I think there's a lot of like, there's a lot of conversations that are left out. And I think it affects your relationship to a degree. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't know about like, where's all our money going? Or like, are we safe and secure with our future? Like what's our operating expenses per month? Like what does your bank account look like right now? I know what mine looks like. Those types of things. Like when there's disconnect when it comes to money, I think that,
which is really, really common.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. So what we're learning is like the more transparency there is, the more you're working together towards a vision and a future rather than like yours and mine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too, is that one of what's really screaming to me right now is two things. One is that, we had a coach once that always said like the most powerful person in a room is the person that has nothing to hide. And I think that what you're alluding to right now is that like, this is, first of all, money is energy, right? Like if you look at masculine versus feminine, even in money, you're talking right now logistically, right? Because that's the masculine brain thinking logistically about like operating expenses, all that kind of stuff. And then there's this other side, which is the feminine side, which is the flow of money, right? So feminine's much more flowing. When that happens is that, like, for example, let's take the money example that you're using right now, where it's like overhead, right? Like we're spending more than we're bringing in or whatever. The minute that balance becomes on level, that woman, a feminine woman at her core, is going to sense that energy shift. Mm-hmm. And if you start withholding that, even though you're withholding that information, she senses something is happening. She can't probably put her finger on what it is, mm-hmm. but there's a difference in the energy exchange. So it comes down to communication, because this is an opportunity for you to decide, hey, my pattern is I'm going to withhold. Just like men are going to withhold information, women are going to withhold intimacy. Like, I feel like that's how the masculine and feminine works. Is men's idea of safety is, hey, I just won't share this because I don't want to either. There's two trains of thought: burden her, or I'm afraid of how she's going to respond. Right? Mm-hmm. Versus the female is more like, why now? If you make me guess while you're withholding, now my mind's going in a totally different story. Mine's like, oh, maybe he has a girlfriend on the side. Maybe he's, maybe he's. It's always going to tend to go naturally to the negative, mm-hmm. right? Like
worst case scenario.
It's going to go worst case scenario. So what happens is the more you withhold, the more I create and spin this story into a bigger story, so that when you actually start to share, I'm in a place of, not reaction, but like resistance. Like I'm bracing for impact. So do
you think that there's like a healthy amount of like withholding and then a healthy amount of sharing?
Yeah, but I think it comes down to like, what is the level of communication in your marriage, which is something that like you right. and I are always working on. We definitely are not good at it. Like we had a really rough weekend of communication.
You're just confident and I think open.
Yeah.
I think the more open you are towards one another, like the more connection there's going to be.
But I think that there's, like I said, a certain tact that has to go into when you have those conversations. They can't be we certainly struggled with this a lot, where it's like Ryan would like drop random stuff on me in passing and then yell at me like,
you don't do that.
You're not listening to me. And I'm like, you're talking to me about something that's really important, but now is not the time. Like I'm on my way to an appointment.
I'm pretty sure we both do that.
Yeah. So, and something that we were
here's something I need you to do in the next 10 minutes. That's like a major project, but I forgot to tell you about it.
So last week we went to church, and the message was about being a builder of your life, builder of people, builder of community, whatever. How Jesus was a builder, and he wants his followers to be builders of something purposeful. And the message that really stood out, I put it in my phone because I really wanted to capture it, was he talked about how you could feed shame or you could feed someone's soul. And that was like what really stood out in that message for me. And I thought about it, how easy. Are you looking at your notes?
No.
And it was so easy to think about this, is like, man, I was like, when you're speaking to each other as a couple, when you're speaking to your kids, are you feeding shame or are you feeding the soul? And when a conversation like you opened up with, in terms of like work stress or money stress, it is very easy to get stuck in your own shame and bring that to the conversation. But what's liberating the soul is actually sharing it and getting it like off your chest. And so when you're looking at being a builder of each other, meaning your spouse, or can you focus on, hey, can I feed my spouse's soul instead of his shame?
So what does that look like practically? Because for me, that's confusing. Like, what do you mean speak to their soul instead of their shame? What does that mean?
You always do this. There's never enough.
So like using absolutes.
Yeah. You speak to the inadequacy instead of into the possibilities. So it's like, hey, I realize you are having a rough month, let's say financially in business. I can cut a little bit here, and we can, now that I know, I'll be more cognitive. I'm not going to go buy, a new Christmas tree, whatever it is. And then now you have a situation where it's like, hey, now I'm connecting to your soul because I'm like, hey, thank you for making me aware of what the problem is or what the challenge is, because now I can adapt. If you withhold, I can't do that. You don't give me that opportunity to do that. You just allow me to, like I said, spin a story or react in a negative way to whatever it is you're sharing. So for me, that's what feeding the soul versus feeding the shame is that like feeding the shame can go right into old patterns of like, this is how you always are. So I was like, oh, I can grow a flower. And so I have it on there. And then Lily's like, what is that? I was like, it's a plant. And it's going to bloom hopefully by the time Christmas comes. And she's like, can I touch it? And so she started touching it. And I was like, I can't remember how you said it. Yeah.
Or that I was inferring the same thing if you do to speak to your child or you speak to your spouse or whatnot.
Yeah. And that's like, I think the good reminder of like speaking to the soul versus speaking to the shame. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, remember, like, just like you were telling her to talk nice to the plant. It's like, we need to do the same thing for each other. And you need to do the same thing for your spouse.
It's hard, right? It's hard because, I think like deep down at your core, like when it gets down to brass tacks, it's like, yes, of course, I love you and I think the world of you and I want to say all these beautiful things about you. But then like life smashes you in the face and then all of a sudden it's like, all you want to do is say anything but.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or everything's in a rush, or when, things are going sideways and not like you planned, or, whatever it is, like it's really hard to go back and do that. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to speak to my wife's soul right now. In the meanwhile, your kid's screaming, like your day went sideways. You just lost, a huge deal, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's really difficult to do that real time.
And that's where, like I said, that's the opportunity for you to say, hey, call your wife, text your wife, and just like, listen, I don't need you to fix this. I need you to just hear me out, or I just need to get this off my chest. If you say that to someone, they're in a place to receive. If you come at them where they have to put their shield up, and how do I know this pattern? Because it's a pattern that you and I have run for years until recently, where we're way more aware of it.
It's also like passively complaining about things, hoping that it'll go a different way.
Right. And it doesn't work.
No, neither of those approaches work. It's like complaining, withholding, speaking negatively about things, saying about how you wish it would be. I mean, none of those, you're not going to be able to like get somebody to come to your side and then work on making it different.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. You get stuck in the shame because everybody's stories start coming into play. I'm not enough, or I suck at this, or I'm not good at this, or I shouldn't be doing this, or, instead of the soul is like, hey, you tried, it didn't work. Maybe we should, it's a totally different energy of thinking. And it's also a totally different energy of feeling when a conversation comes from that place versus like, you never do this, or you always do this and it drives me bonkers, or and I think that it's just like the parenting's such a good example because they're going to test just like you told Lily to speak to the plant nicely. And same thing with Lily. Like, we need to set that example for her. It's really challenging, I find. I mean, I don't know if other people are listening to have an only child, but it's really challenging with an only child because you're everything. So,
okay.
Wrap it up. Yeah. You wrap it up.
Nope. Finish your thought.
No, so speak to each other like plants.
Yeah, that's a big takeaway.
Give them some. Make sure you're giving your spouse the right nutrients to grow.
Water, sunlight,
by speaking to their soul,
sex, and nice words of affirmation,
instead of focusing on their shame, the weeds.
Good job. All right, wrap it up.
If you like this episode of Weaponized Marriage, please share it with someone who could benefit. We're on a bi-weekly schedule, and now
happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a wonderful time with your family.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Awesome.